What's up, Infected, and welcome to the Quarantine. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game by the name of Resistor. Now, Resistor is a game that takes place in the era of nuclear war. So you have the red country and the blue country, and you're trying to lower each other's DEFCON level to level 0 in order to, I guess, engage nuclear war and end the game. So whoever drops to DEFCON 0 is declared the loser. Thematically, you're really trying to draw lines from one side to the other using a set of cards by flipping them over, but you only have access to about half of the information out on the field, while your opponent has the access to the other half of the information. So you're trying to react doing what you guys know and using the information you have to try to play off of each other's weak points and try to use what each other does against each other. And I know that's a lot of each others in that sentence, so let's just go straight over to the overview. In a game of Resistor, the player's going to set up the board pretty much like you see here. You're going to decide whether blue or red goes first. You're going to put 6 cards between each player's DEFCON base. Now, the game takes place kind of in a computer. And you're going to incorporate the box into this really cool cartridge that you put in here to allow the players to draw and not see what card they're drawing, as you see here. And you'll see there's a little arrow that goes face down into here, so you can't see what you're supposed to draw next. And then the whole point of the game is to be able to trace a line from yours and your color all the way to the enemy player's base. If you can at the end of the round, then their DEFCON level is going to go up or down, I guess, depending on how the DEFCON system works. So you would go from DEFCON 1 to DEFCON 2. Now, how you do that is these 3 actions, or 4 if you're playing with a variant, and you're going to do all 3 of these actions, and you must do all 3 of them before you can see if a line is traced. So you're also given 2 cards at the beginning of the game. Now, I can only look at this side of these cards. I cannot look at these because the other side of the card has something else on it that my opponent can see. But my opponent also is having the same problem. He or she can only see this side, but I know what's on the other side. So you have to do these 3 actions. So, draw and trash is you would flip this over to show that you've done it, and then you would draw the card, and making sure you're only looking at the one side that you're supposed to be, add it to your hand, and then you're going to choose one of these to trash. Now, when you trash one of these cards, you look at both sides to see if there's a resistor on it, which I'll mention a little bit later, and then you will discard that card out of the game. Then, you can switch out. So to switch out, you would take one of the cards in your hand and you would put it however you want. So maybe I want to get rid of, I don't know, this one here. You're going to take it, put it into your hand, making sure the side that was visible is visible to you. And then I want to add this back onto the field. Now, when you add it, I can add it this way, I can add it this way, as long as these connectors that you see here are connected to the 2 connectors there. So maybe in this case, I'll definitely want to put it this way because it creates a solid line going this way. Then the other action you can do is to flip over. So what you would do is I would maybe take this card here and I would flip it over to where it's still connected, and then now my turn is ended and I have a line that goes all the way to the enemy's base. In this situation, they would lose one of their level, or again, gain one of their level, depending on how the DEFCON system works. So now, if you notice, they lose one of their rings that are on the outside. And then your turn is over. Make note that you trace both lines. So if now both of us connected to each other, we both would gain or lose a point on our side. Then at this point, your turn is over and it's your opponent's turn. However, I mentioned resistors, which are these. Now, resistors are nasty little things, but also very helpful things. So if I would have flipped over, let's say I flipped over this card. It was here, and I used my flip over, and I flipped this over here. You would immediately stop what you're doing and trace back both of these. So this traced back all the way to mine. This traces back all the way to my opponent's. So whoever it traces back to will heal a level of their DEFCON. So I'm already at max, and they would flip this over, and they heal. Now, this resistor goes to the discard pile. All of this gets smaller, and all of these cards will flip to their other side, thus making the battlefield a little smaller and possibly revealing more resistors, which will then activate a second time or a third time or so on and so forth. You would continue to do this until one of the players is at DEFCON 4. As you see here, there's no more outlines around their base here. And if they were to take a single point of damage due to, connecting a line all the way back to them, then that player loses and the player that's still alive is declared the winner. Alright, the resistor. Well, as a lot of you guys may know, one of my favorite game companies is Level 99 Games. So I was pretty stoked when they said they were going to send me a copy of this to review. And I have to say, when I first played it, I wasn't really that thrilled. I think I was maybe expecting something a little different. However, I was super impressed by this. So the box is incorporated into the gameplay, and I thought that was cool, because if you look here, it's like a really old school, you plug this into the computer and these are the launch codes, and you're like, launch them! I thought that was cool. And then the fact that I hate single page rulebooks, but this one is really cool and thematic. It looks like those old printers that offices used that were really loud. That was pretty cool. The whole box, the art on the game, everything is really thematic and looks awesome. But I was a little underwhelmed with the game the first time I played it. And I was like, okay, I may make a rule that before I review a game, I will play it 3 different times with 3 different people. Or 3 different groups, depending on the game, of course. And so I played it a second time, and I enjoyed it a lot more. And then the third time, once I started kind of developing how the strategy worked, because it seemed a little too random almost, and a lot to keep up with. But as soon as I started, when I started realizing that there's a little bit of strategy to the game, I really started to enjoy it a lot more. And, the rulebook reads well, the components, level 99 components, they're pretty good. So overall, the game wound up being pretty fun. Is it going to be something I'm going to break out all the time? Probably not. But it is a good, fun, light little game. For a little 2-player game, it has a surprisingly deep amount of strategy to it. And then I didn't even mention the lockdown cards that you show here. And it basically would stop you from being able to affect this card. And so it's just a little variant that you can throw in that kind of adds a little bit more strategy. I want you to not touch this card this round. But then next round, you're going to have to move that card. So now, okay, why didn't you want me to touch that card? So maybe I flip it. Maybe you were bluffing. Maybe now it's a resistor because you knew what was on the other side. And so there's a lot of information going on. However, like every game, there are flaws to this one. And the first one being, of course, it's cards. You're drawing these cards, and you're kind of at the mercy to the cards you draw. Now, there seems to be a good spread of different types of cards in different colors and different combinations, stuff like that. So you don't really seem to get screwed, but it is cards, so technically you could be. So, people who don't like card-driven games, of course, probably will not like that. And the other kind of complaint that we had with it was there's a lot of hidden information. Basically, if you took Hanabi with the fact that you only know half the information in the game, or part of the information in the game, and you put that on steroids, that's this game, because so many things are constantly moving. And okay, what was on the back of that card that they played 4 turns ago? They put it there. I think the map has changed since then. What's going on? Have we swapped out the cards? What's on the other side of these? And sometimes it just feels like you're flying by the seat of your pants and hoping for the best. So that's going to turn a lot of people off. There's a lot of hidden information here that you're really needing to keep up with to try to remember your half of the information and use that against your opponent. Outside of that, the game was a lot of fun. Again, it's not going to win any awards. It's not going to be one of those games you're going to want to break out every so often, but it is a good, fun, light little game, but you do have to dedicate enough time to it to where you're going to be able to concentrate on the game to keep track of all of this information that's moving around. But yes, I definitely recommend the Resistor. It's good fun. It feels thematic. And though I'm not really sure how the DEFCON level works, from what I understand, DEFCON 5 is peace, DEFCON 1 is nuclear war. So each player starts at DEFCON 1 and you're trying to move it up. So I'm not really sure how that part of the theme is supposed to work, but maybe I don't understand how the DEFCON level works. So either way, that aside, the game is good fun. Everything feels kind of thematic. The rulebook, how annoying it still feels really cool. It's one of those old printers. The little addition where you can lock out cards, you don't get to touch this one. So overall, yeah, I recommend picking it up. It's level 99, the Resistor. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll see you guys next time in the Quarantine.